So in the last session, we have discussed about Selenium methods. So which are like, we have seen an examples on Selenium methods like get methods, conditional methods, and browser methods. So in this session, we'll discuss about navigational methods. Navigational methods are used to navigate from one URL to other URL. There are like 4 navigational methods. So navigate.to. So navigate is the method which we'll use, which actually returns a navigation object, and then dot to. So navigate is a method which is from the WebDriver interface, right? So WebDriver dot or driver dot navigate method returns the navigation class dot to. To is the actual method, and we pass URL as a parameter to it. Then it navigates to a specific URL. So this method, to method, navigates to a specific URL, which is passed to it as a parameter. Then navigate dot back. So when you see this back button, right, in the browser, and you also see a forward button. So this back button, so when we navigate to some website here, say for example, some website like this. So, and when you wanted to go back to the previous URL, you just hit on this back button. So it says click to go back, hold to see history, right? So if you click on that, you'll go back to the previous URL, right? So this, if we wanted to automate, we can use this method called back, navigate dot back method. Navigate is a driver method, WebDriver method, and then back. So navigate actually returns a navigation object, and then dot back. Back is a method within that object. So within the class, navigation class, move back in the browser's history. And same is the case with forward. So if you wanted to go forward, right? So once you go to the second URL, and you'll get that history. You can even go forward. You can go backward. So this, if you wanted to automate, we can use these methods. Navigate dot forward moves forward in the browser history. Forward method moves forward in the browser history. And refresh the current page. So you do have refresh also here. This is called reloading the page, right? Reload this page. Once you click on this, it just reloads the page. Say for example, you are into something here, right? So you can refresh this page like this, right? Enter some text into it. If you refresh it, the page will refresh, and the whatever you entered here, right? So that gets refreshed, right? So these are the 3 browser actions, right? Which we can mimic using the navigation methods. Now let us see an example on these methods. But today I'll create a new package. I'll say call it as day27, and we'll create a new class and call it as navigational. Or you can say navigational methods. First, we'll create a WebDriver instance. We'll instantiate to the Chrome driver so that new Chrome browser window gets launched. We can import this WebDriver and Chrome driver definitions. Import. So for that, Shift Control O is the shortcut so that it imports the statements. Now, once we do this, so it's a best practice to actually maximize the window. Driver.manage.window.maximize. And once we do this, what we usually do, we do driver dot get, right? And say, for example, I wanted to navigate to this Google itself, say, for example, right? We do like this. So what happens? Chrome browser gets launched and it navigates to this particular URL. This we know, right? So let's try this. What it does, it just navigates, opens the browser, and navigates to the particular URL which we send to the get method. This we have seen, right? Now, this actually we have seen. Now, we wanted to navigate. So, even navigate.to also does the same, right? So, let me show you that. Driver dot navigate. See, navigate method returns navigation object. Navigation class has its own method. When you click on navigate method dot, so it will show you back and all the possible methods, right? What are all the methods defined within that class? So dot two is the method. And if you observe, we have two methods. So for two, right? Two is overloaded, and you can see two actually accepts URL as well as URL object. So first so if you, so let's actually use two as string first. I'll just comment this out for now and let's execute it. Now, if you observe, it also does the same, right? So when you pass some string to it, to the to method, so it actually navigates to the URL whichever is specified to it as a parameter in double quotes, right? So as it accepts string as a parameter. So then what's the difference between get driver.get and driver.navigate to? So there has to be some difference, right? So the difference is, if you observe this to method actually is accepting string as a parameter, right? Even get is accepting string as a parameter, but internally navigate.to method is also calling this get method. So say for example, what is this navigate method, right? So this to method, it also calls the get method internally. We can call one method, we can call other method, right? So in this in this to method also, this get method is called. So get method actually takes you to a specific URL when you pass a string to it, right? So to method also does the same. So then what's the difference? So if you pass to string, so this will be called internally, get will be called, and it will take you to the particular URL, right? So then this will be URL, right? Or just call this as yes, and then it's a string object, right? So to string, when you say to string, so it just calls the get method internally, and and what does get do? We already learned, like we have been seeing in almost every sessions from beginning Selenium, right? So get actually takes you to the particular URL whichever is passed to it as a parameter, right? So now what's the difference between navigate.to and get? So even though it actually calls get method, so it do have some other method, overloaded method called URL. So it also accepts URL as a object. So then in that case, like how does it work? So how it works is, so if URL is passed to it as an object, so how do we pass an URL object? We'll see that now in a few minutes. But what's the difference? So if we pass, we can even pass URL object to the to method, right? So in that case, how does it work? So if we pass URL object to the to method, so internally the definition is something like this. So this URL is converted, this URL is converted to string object. And then it already has this definition, right? It already has this definition of uh, taking a string, taking string as a parameter, it already has this definition. So even though URL object is passed to so to method, the URL object is converted internally into string, and then it is passed to the get method again, right? So again, like indirectly, get method itself is called to navigate to a particular URL. So the only difference here is, so in the get method, we can only pass string as a parameter to it. We can only pass string as a parameter to it. Whereas navigate.to method takes two parameters, accepts two parameters. Two parameters in the sense it's not at the same time, right? So it's method overloaded here, which can accept either string or two method. Sorry, URL object, right? It can either accept string object or URL object. That's the main difference. So get method only accepts string as a parameter to navigate to a particular URL, whereas navigate.to method accepts parameter as either string or URL, right? It can accept URL also as a parameter. URL object also as a parameter, right? Okay, how do we pass it? So let's see that. We have to define a URL object, right? So how do we define an URL object? I wanted to create a new URL object. URL is a class. I wanted to create an object for it. New URL, and then we have to pass a parameter to it. So I'll pass some parameter to it. We have to import it from java.net package. URL is a class which is coming from java.net package. And this is an object of URL, right? So we can actually have that reference object in URL object, right? Reference variable, we hold it in a URL object. Now unhandled exception, add throws. Okay, you can just use, say, add throws declaration. And also you can see, this has been crossed, right? So it has been, there is a line on URL, right? Which says that this URL object or URL class is gonna be deprecated. Deprecated in the sense, so in the coming versions of Java, so this will not be available. So that's a warning it is giving you. It's only a warning, it's not an error. So you can see it's yellow underlined. So it says the constructor URL is deprecated, is what it is saying. So you can even add this warning, suppress warning. So which actually indicates the developers who reads this code that this is gonna be deprecated, right? This is all like whoever develops the applications, right? So they will do that. But for now, you can just remember it like, so whenever you see some line on this, right? So it says URL, but there's a line on it, cross line, right? So it's not a cross line, it's a horizontal line on the URL itself, right? So which means that this class is gonna be deprecated in the coming, is gonna be deprecated. So that is, it is gonna be removed from the, it will be removed in the coming versions of Java, is what we need to know. So that's the reason it is giving you a warning, right? All right. Now you have URL object. Now how do you pass it? We wanted to pass it to navigate.to method, right? So that is what, that is the reason we created this object. Navigate.to method. See, to method accepts two parameters. So it can accept, it will either accept string as a parameter or it can accept URL as a parameter, URL object, right? So I'll pass URL object. We have already seen string. So I'm passing URL object here. Yeah, you can see that it does the same job, right? So with URL object as well. We are not going to use this URL object to pass to this navigate.to method. And in fact, we'll use always driver.get method in our scripts. And mostly when you are working on the projects also, we'll be using the driver.get only. We'll not be using driver.navigate to. But in interview point of view, like this is very important. this question. So the difference, what is the difference between driver.get and driver.navigate.to, right? Navigate.to and get. Both methods actually navigates to a URL which is passed to them as a parameter, right? But what's the difference? So the difference is navigate.to method can accept parameter either as string, and also it can accept URL as a parameter, URL object as a parameter, whereas get only takes string as a parameter. That's the difference. Now, so let's navigate to a particular URL, and then say for example, I wanted to click on this Gmail, right? So just click on this Gmail, it will navigate to you to your Gmail account if it is logged in, or it will just it will just take you to a new page, right? Say for example, google.com, right? So when you click on Gmail, what happens? It actually takes you to a new page, and it will ask you to sign in or create an account, right? So once you are in this page, right? So I wanted to go back to the previous page. So I am on the Gmail page, but I wanted to go back to the last page. So how can we go to the last page? Here we do have some arrows, right? To go back to the previous page, previous URL. So just click on it. So you'll go back to the previous URL or previous web page which was open, right? And again, if you wanted to go forward, so you can click on this forward arrow. You'll go back, you'll come to this URL, which we open later, right? And also you can use this refresh button to reload the page, right? So we'll see this now. We'll automate this. So we wanted to click on this. Once we'll open this google.com, and we wanted to click on this Gmail to navigate to a different URL. So it's a hyperlink. You can see it here, and we'll use this link text. It's a hyperlink. Driver dot find element. We can use y dot link text. We can copy the link text here. It's a Gmail, and then it's a link, right? We wanted to click on it. Let's click on it. So once we click on it, what we wanted to do? We wanted to, okay, for now, like what we can do is, how do you know that we clicked on the Gmail? So let's actually write some statement here. Say, so current URL. How do we get the current URL? We will learn this in the last session. Driver dot get current URL. Right? After clicking on Gmail, right? Now, what we wanted to do, this is all like nothing new to us, right? So navigate.to, it navigates to a particular URL, and then we just found some element in it in the web page, and we just clicked on it. So it navigates to a different URL. So that URL we are capturing here. That is fine. Now, what we wanted to do, we are interested to click on back button, right? So back. So when you click on back button, so where it will take you, what will happen? That's what we wanted. We wanted to see, right? So for that, you can see a current URL. Navigate.to back, right? Driver dot get current URL. So what did we do here? We are navigating to a particular URL. Then we clicked on some link in that web page. We are taken to a different web page. So that URL we wanted to read. So that we just displayed on the console. Then we wanted to click on the back button on the browser. just to see if we are going back, right? Back to the previous page. That is this page, google.com page. So let's see that now. Yeah, you can see we went to this Gmail page, Gmail web page, and also we came back, right? So meaning you can see here current URL after clicking on Gmail. So we visited this Gmail web page, and also after clicking the current URL after navigate.back. So this is the current URL after clicking on back. So we are back to the previous web page, right? Now in the same way, like we can forward also. So we are in the current web page, right? Google.com. Now we can use forward method to go forward to the second URL, which we have visited, right? So you can do that. So it navigates to google.com, then visits Gmail, go back. See, current URL after clicking on Gmail. So it visits Gmail web page and it goes back. So when we click on back, it goes back to google.com. And again, when it clicks on forward, it comes back to the Gmail. So this we can do it for within a same web page. We can visit maybe the different, we can perform some action within the web page and navigate to a different URL, or altogether you can go to the different URL itself. Say for example, I wanted Gmail, if I know directly the URL of it, right? So I could actually replace this statement with driver dot another navigate statement itself, navigate dot to. So you can directly use Gmail URL itself here. Say for example, gmail.com, right? That itself we can use here. If you know the URL. I think even this has to work, right? You can click on it, or you can actually go to visit this website and then you can change the URL, right? So let's execute this. This also should work. We navigate to some URL, and within the same browser, we navigate to a different URL, right? We go back and we come forward, and you can see here, right? So after clicking on Gmail and then clicking after current URL after clicking on Gmail, but you can just say after this as after, you can read this as after navigating to the Gmail, right? And then it goes back and it comes forward, right? So a simple example. And we do have another method called refresh. Refresh, just refresh the current page. Driver.navigate method dot refresh. It just reloads the page. That's all. So using navigate.to, like we can navigate within the same web page, or we can go to a different URL also here, right? And this just refresh the page. The, right? Whenever we wanted to reload the page, we can use this. Use this method called refresh, which reloads the page. Is that clear? No. No. We have seen window handles, right? Window handles in the last session. So we'll discuss more on that. Like, what is a window handle? So when we launch a browser, any browser, each browser window will have one handle. We call it as window handle, which is a unique ID assigned to that browser window for that session, only for that session. So if you launch the browser again, then you'll get a different ID window, which we call it as a different window handle, which is a unique ID, unique identifier, right? So that's what we call it as window handle. And when we have different windows, different browser windows open at the same time, then we will have each window will have its own window handle. That is, each window will have its own unique identifier. So this is what we have discussed, and we have seen two methods, right? Get window handle and get window handles. So if there are more than one window, we should be using get window handles, which will return set of strings, right? So this we have seen. And get window handle returns string. So the window handle ID of that window. So this we have seen, right? Now, yeah, what we'll do is, so get window handle will return string, get window handles will return set of strings. So this we have seen, right? So we'll see an example now on. So once we open this window, we'll get the window handle fine. Now when I click on some link, if some new window gets open, right? So, and I wanted to get the window handles of all the open browser windows, right? So then we can use get window handles method. That's fine. But if I wanted to switch to a particular window, which was opened newly, right? So how do we do that switch? So without switching, you can't perform the actions. So when we are in some page, so when we are in some page, right? When we launch the browser and navigate to a particular URL, so let's call this as main window. You are in the main window. Now, when you click on some link or when you perform some action in this web page, say for example, that is taking you to a, that actually opens a new window, right? So let's call this as a new window. Now, each will have its own window handle, right? So get window handle will give us the window, window handles of these two browser windows. That's fine. But when you click on this link, a new window gets opened, but driver instance still points to the main window only. It will not switch to the new window because driver is still here. So it has this context of this main window only. It doesn't know about this window, right? Only upon clicking this link, this window got opened, but WebDriver has no clue about this window, right? But it can get the window handles of all the open browsers, right? So using that window handles, we have to switch to the particular browser window which is open so that we can perform the actions on the new window which we opened, right? So we might be opening the new window to perform some actions. For some reason, we might be opening the new window, right? So, and when we wanted to perform some actions in the new window, we need to switch the context to this new window. WebDriver context, we need to switch to the new window, right? So to switch that context, we do have some methods to switch the context. So those methods are called as switchTo. So the method itself is switchTo method. Driver dot switchTo is a method. Then dot we can actually call a method called window and pass the handle ID here. A handle ID. Handle ID is the window handle ID which where you wanted to have the context switched to, right? So there are, say for example, there are multiple browser windows open and you wanted to navigate to a particular window, right? So you need to know the handle ID of that window. Then you can pass that window handle ID here to that window to the window method. Then it switches the driver switches the context to its the new window. The new window in the sense the window which you wanted to have the context switched to, right? By passing the handle ID of that particular window, right? So this is how we can switch to. we can use switch2 method, right? So we'll see an example on that. You'll come to know. So I'll call this as handle browser windows. No, new website is different. See, navigate to is different. Switching to a different window is different, right? So let me show you. Say for example, I'm navigating to selenium.dev, right? This is also a website. So what you are saying is selenium.dev, right? So why can't I go to something like this, right? This is navigate.to. We are we actually were in a different web page using an URL, and if you click on some other URL, right? So you will be navigated to some other URL, right? So this is what you are saying. But we are talking about windows, different window altogether. Say for example, I am into this URL, right? When I click on this link, see a new window gets opened. This is different. Navigate.to is different. Navigate.to, within the same window, browser window, you are navigating to a different web page. But here, this is totally different, right? So when you click on some link, a new browser window itself is getting opened. There's a lot of difference between the two. Did you get it? Yeah. Yeah, using the switch to method. Switch to method, no. Switch to method switch to method will use to switch the context. But in order to open it, right? So how do you open it? You will use switch2, but where do you switch? Before even opening the window, you can't switch it, right? So you're saying how can we open this window? How can we open this window? Can't we open this window with switch2 method is what you're saying. So switch2 method can be used only if there is another window, right? So you have to have more than one window. Only then switch2 method can be used to actually switch your context to other window. Directly using switch2, you can't actually, so it's you can't actually know, right? Where you wanted to switch the context to. So you definitely need to have more than one browser window open. Only then we can use the switch2 method to actually switch the context to a different browser window which we wanted to switch to. Is that clear? So it's not about switching to a new website. So you need to understand the difference here. It's not about a different website in the same window, right? It's totally different. When you click on it, you are actually having a new window open here. So upon opening different browser windows, so switch to method can be used to switch the context, WebDriver context, to a different browser window. Or else you'll always be, the WebDriver instance will always be in the main window only. Let's call this as main window. And when we click on this link, so a new window gets opened, right? So let's call this as a new window. So the WebDriver, when we click on this link, even though a new window is open, the WebDriver context will still be there in the main window itself. It will have no clue about the second window, right? But it will have the window handle IDs. So when we do get window handles, it will find out what are all the open browser windows by the driver, and it will get the window handle. But the context will still be there in the main window only. When we wanted to visit this new windows, then we have to pass the handle ID of that new window to the switch to method, right? Only then it will the driver switches its context to the new window. All right. So now let's take this as an example. So if you click on this link, so it will open a new window, right? So it's a new window. And how do you want it to, how we can switch the driver context to this new window is what we are going to see now. So first, let's automate this. WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver. I launched my Chrome browser. So we'll maximize the window. And then we'll navigate to a particular URL. All right. So till here it is fine, right? Now, driver dot find element. So let's navigate this element. Inspect. You wanted to click on this link, right? So click. We can use selector sub. Copy the related path. Dot click. So it will take us to a new window, right? And what we wanted to do, we wanted to actually get the window handles of all the open windows, right? So let's get that. So how do we get that? Driver dot get window handles. You can use a method called get window handles. It will return the window handles of all the open browser windows, which will return set of strings, right? So let's capture that in a set of strings. I'll call this as all window handles. You have to import this set from java.util package. Now, in order to read each object from set, what can we use? So there is no get method in it, right? So we can't use the get method here because set will not have the get method. It is not index based, right? So what we have to do is we have to actually convert this set into a list. So we'll convert this set into a list. So we have two methods to actually switch to use the switch to method. To use switch to method. So the method one I'm using here. So where we can actually convert set to a list, right? List of strings in this case. I'll call it as window handle list. New array list of these are also strings, right? Set of strings. So we'll pass this object, all window handles. See, what did we do? We converted set to a list. Why we converted? We wanted to use get method to get each handle, right? So now we can use the get method on the list. So window handles list dot get. You can pass the index now. So if I say 0, I'll get the first handle, right? What get method returns? So get method is also returning. Okay, it is saying get method is returning a string, right? So string of this is a main window handle. Actually, we don't know which is a main window and which is not, right? So we can't actually say which is a new window, right? So what we can do is we can just say string of window 1 and string of window 2, right? So window handles list dot get of 1. So we know there are two handles, right? Two open windows. So this get window handles method will return two strings, two window handle IDs, right? So that we converted into list. That set we converted into a list, and then we do this get 0, get 1, right? Now, as we are in the main window context, right? We know that we are in the main window. Switch to new window. How do we switch it? So we'll use driver dot switch to method then dot window and pass, say for example, window 2. And which window it is. So how do you know it which window it is? So what we can do is, for that we can print the title of that window. We can repeat it the same for the other window as well. You can just say window 1 title, window 2 title. So what did we do here? We use getWindowHandles method, which actually returns a set of strings. We wanted to read each window handle ID. We can't do that because set doesn't have is not indexed, so it will not have a get method, right? So to get based on index. So what we used was, like, we converted set into list. Now we do have a list, so we can actually go through all the list using the index, right? So we use the get method here and we pass the parameters get 0, get 1. We know there are two objects in it. So we use get 0, get 1 and capture that into strings. So these strings are the window handles, right? Window handles, actual window handles. So we are switching the context to a different, right? So say for example, window, we don't know which window it is, right? So we are just switching the context like this, and then we are capturing the titles. So let's see that now. It will open a new window and done, right? So if you go back, yeah, the first window is Selenium. So when we open window 1, it is Selenium, and the window 2 is the second new window, right? This is the new window. So it actually switched the context to both of the windows. So how did we confirm that? We use the get title method. So get title method. So how do you get that? So the title of a web page. So right click, inspect in the header, right? So just expand this header tag. You will see title here. Or you can just do Control F and find the title. See, title is Selenium here for this web window, right? For this window, what's the title? Right click, inspect. If it is, yeah, you can see the title here, right? This is call for proposals, something, right? That's the title of this window. So you can also hover on this tab. You can see this call for proposals, this title of this web page, right? So this is Selenium here. Whatever is displayed on the top, right? So that's the title of this web page. All right. Now you can see. You can see that's what displayed in the console, right? As an output. So we are able to, so that with that we can actually confirm that it is able to switch the context, the WebDriver is able to switch the context to a newly opened window, right? So this is one method of switching, right? So there is another method. How we can switch to a different window handle, right? So in this method, we will use for each loop. So for each loop, all window handles. So all window handles. So each is a string, right? So I'll call this as for each string handle from all the window handles, what we wanted to. We'll switch to each window handle, right? So once we switch, so what we are doing here, we have the window handles here, right? So using this window handles, we are reading each window handle from it. So for that, we use the for each loop. So for each window handle, what we wanted to do, we will use this handle to switch to each window. And we wanted to get the title of all the windows. All these windows, we wanted to get the title, right? So till here, it will switch the window to a particular window. We don't know what window it is. It is based on this handle ID, right? So from all window handles, we are reading each window handle, right? Handle. So and passing that to switch2 dot window method, right? Switch2 dot window method. So this actual switch2 method is actually written target locator. So target locator, we have a method called window, and to that we are passing the handle ID. So it will actually switch the context to a WebDriver will switch the context to a window with this handle ID, right? And how do we know which window it is pointing to, right? So for that, what we can do is dot get title. We can differentiate, or we can identify which window it is in, right? Using the get title, because we have no clue what this handle will be. It's a unique ID, and it is gonna set a new every session, and every window will have its own unique ID, right? So we can't depend on this handle ID, or we can't use this handle ID to actually, know the which window we are in, right? We can only know by something called, you can also use get current URL, right? If you are sure on the URL. But mostly we can use title. Title will be readable, right? So you can use get title to switch to know the window which the driver has switched to, right? So now we are into some, so this get title actually returns some string, right? So let's capture that into some title object. Now say, for example, you wanted to perform some particular action on some particular window. So how do you do that? If driver dot equals, what's the title of this? If you can get the title of this, you can use that here. If title dot equals, right? So meaning we switch to a window with the title, this one. So if you are in a window, if you are in a window with title this, so I wanted to perform some actions. You can perform some actions on this new window. Whatever actions you wanted to perform on the new window, you can put it here, right? Say, for example, I just wanted to read the URL of that particular new window which I opened, right? So this is what I can do, or some other validations you can perform. Right? Now let's see. So this will happen for all the handles. Say, for example, some on particular window, you wanted to perform some action. Then you'll switch to that window, but you will not know when will that window will be open, right? So for all the window handles, you'll try this. So there are, say, for example, there are multiple windows, and you wanted to perform some action on a particular window. So how do you know that particular window is? Based on the title. So you'll first find the title of it. So that title you will be knowing, right? So we provide that title, and if the window title matches that title, then we'll perform the actions on that new window. So you can see the current URL, right? So the current URL, it is actually displaying. This is the current URL. Current URL in the sense, this one, the second Windows URL, right? And what if I wanted to open or go back to the context, right? So go back to the other context, like the main window, right? So it's a Selenium, right? So you can just write Selenium here. It will take you back to the other context. So based on the title of the window, like you can actually switch the context to. Say, for example, you have multiple windows, right? So in that case, what you can do is you can actually write some or condition also. So if you wanted to perform some actions based on, you wanted to perform some actions on a particular window, you'll not know that, right? So you'll write another if condition, or you'll write else if condition. You'll do some else if condition, and you'll have some other title of the window which you wanted to switch to and perform some different action, right? Like that, you can actually switch the context to a new window which is open, and then you can perform the actions on that particular window. Is that clear? Hope it is clear. It is simple. When multiple windows are open, how do we handle them? So using get window handle IDs, we can. So when we say get window handles, we get the window handles. So using those window handles, we can actually switch the context to a different browser window which is open, right? And how do we actually open it? Which window we are in? How do you know that? So we are just using get title method to actually switch the context to a particular window. So we actually switch it to using the handle ID only. But in order, need to know, right, which window we are in. So for that, we are using get title method, and based on the title, so we'll come to know which window we are in. And based on that, we can perform the particular actions on that window. Whichever actions we wanted to perform on that particular window, we can perform that actions, right? So it's simple. And we have seen two methods for it. So first method was like we can get the window handles using a list, right? So it returns string, get window handles returns set of strings. We converted them into list, and then we got this window handle IDs. And using this window handle IDs, we were able to switch to the particular window. And in the second method, we directly use the for each loop and got the window each. We read the each window handle ID using the for each loop, and we were able to use the switch to method to actually switch the context to a particular window using this handle ID. And in order to know in which window we are in, we are just using the get title method to know that. And we have written a small logic here. That is the condition we'll verify, which if it matches with the window title which we wanted to perform some action, then this will be true, and then we'll perform some actions on that particular window. Hope it is clear. Now let's actually look into some other example. So say for example, I wanted to close these windows, browser windows which are open. So how do you do that? We'll see another example on that. For example, let me go to, I'll navigate to this URL, and you can see here, there is try it yourself, right? So if I click on this, a new window gets opened, right? So now a new window gets opened, right? So this is what we wanted to automate. And yeah, let's automate it here, right? I'll create a new class. So say for example, I wanted to, once I open this, right? So once we navigate to this, I'll click on this, try it yourself, and a new window gets open. And I wanted to close this window. So after it is open, right? So I'll perform some actions, whatever I wanted to do. And I just wanted to close this browser window. So I can do like this, right? I wanted to close that specific browser window. So how do we do that? Closing specific browser window. We know to close the browser window, we can use driver.close method, right? So using that method, we wanted to close the browser windows. I can just copy this whole part from here. Only this part changes. I wanted to navigate to a different URL now. All right. And wanted to find the web element, right? Driver.find element by dot. We can use link text for it or try it yourself. Right click, inspect, and you can use selector from. It's huge, right? So let's use the link text itself. Yeah. Link text is, we can use the inner text. Link text is simple. So let's use link text this time. Dot click. So this opens a new window, right? Opens a new window. All right. Now what we'll do is, so before even opening this window, right? What we can do is, once we open this main window, right? So what we can do is, we have one window, right? After opening the first window, so driver dot will get the window handle of this for this window. So when you open a window, you will have only one window, right? So that we can call it as a main window. So let's capture the window handle here, right? So I have a main window handle. If you want, you can even print that. So you can just say main window handle. All right, what did we do here? We just navigated to a particular URL. We got the window handle of it. This is nothing new to us, right? We are just printing it on the console. All right. Now we are clicking on some particular link which opens a new window, right? Which opens a new window. Even this we learned just now, right? Now what we can do is, so once we click on it, a new window gets opened, right? Now we'll use getWindowHandles, which actually returns a set of strings, right? All window handles. Now we'll iterate through all the window handles. So for that, we'll use the easy method, that is for each method. For each string handle from all window handles, what I wanted to do, I wanted to perform driver dot, I wanted to switch to each window. Switch to dot window, and we'll pass this handle, right? It will switch to a particular window. Then what we can do, we can capture its title. Dot get title. This also we have seen just now. Now we have the title. We can just call it as string window title. It is written string, so I'll call it as string window title. We can just say window title is window title. All right. So we open a new window. We got the window handles, right? Till here, we know it, right? Now, say for example, after opening, right? After opening it, let me show you this first. So if I do driver.close, what happens? Let's see till here. So what did we do here? We navigated to some URL and then we got the handle of it, fine. And then we are clicking on some particular link which opens a new window. This is also fine. And then we'll just do driver.close. Now see what happens. Our aim was to close the main window, right? But sorry, child window, new window, newly opened window. But what happens? Main window got closed when we use driver.close method, right? So this is main window handle. You can just ignore it for now. But if you observe, so what we wanted to achieve, we wanted to navigate to this. When we click on try it yourself, new window gets open, fine. But we wanted to open the newly opened window, right? So we wanted to, when we open this, we wanted to close this, close the newly opened window. But when we do driver.close, the main window got closed. Why? Because we haven't switched the driver context to a new window. So the driver context is still in the main window. So when we use driver.close, that window got closed. But that is not what we wanted, right? So we wanted to actually close the new window. So how can we achieve that? So when we just do driver.close, it will just close the main window. So this is not what we wanted to do, right? So we wanted to close, this will close, this will close, main window. But what we wanted to achieve, we wanted to actually close a particular window, specific window, right? So how do we do that? Again, this specific, whenever we say specific window, we can only know that window by its title, right? So that's the reason we got the title of the window, right? And then once we get the title of the window, again, the same part, like we'll compare it. Say for example, equals, what's the title of this new window? Let's see it here. Write yourself. You can even see it here, right? W3 Schools Try It Editor. Or you can get it from here. You can see W3 Schools Try It Editor. You don't even need to give the whole part of it. You can just say contains. You can just say Try It Editor also. So if it matches with this title, right? But we are not using equals. We just wanted to use contains. Contains actually matches the substring of the whole string, right? So it will see if the window title has this as a substring. Yes, it does have it, right? So it's the whole string is this. So right enter is a part of it. So this will return true. Now once you switch the context and what you wanted to do, you wanted to close this browser, right? So you can do driver.close. And if you want, you can just confirm that. Closed window and window title is this one is what you can say. And you can even say break if at all you wanted to close only this specific window, right? And once you do it, what we wanted. So the window is not there now. We close the new window. That's fine, right? So once we come out of this for loop, when we say break, it will come out of the for loop, right? Now we wanted to switch the context back to our main window, right? So driver dot switch to dot window main window handle. So this is the reason we have saved this main window handle here. So once we open the main window, right, that is the first window, we capture this main window handle. This is because like we can use this main window handle once we close the specific browser windows, right? Say, for example, you might wanted to close multiple windows, but you wanted to always come back to your main window. So what we can do is we can always save the main window handle here once we open the first window, and then we can switch to its context here once we perform the actions on it different windows. This actually switches back to the main window. How do we know we are in the main window? You can just print its title. So whenever you are when you are using window handles, right? So you can only know the window by its title. So that's the reason everywhere we are using this driver.getTitle. All right. So let's execute here. So what did we do here? We switch. So we opened a URL. We clicked on some link. It actually opens a new window. That's fine. And then we wanted to actually close a particular window, right? So like this, you can have, you might open multiple windows, new windows, but if you wanted to actually close a particular window, right? So what you can do in that case, so you'll do switchTo.windowHandle, and then you'll find the title of it, and you'll match that title with the desired title of the window which you wanted to close. So you'll write that condition, and if that is true, you'll close the browser window. Right? Once you close that, if at all you wanted to switch back to your main window, right? So you'll actually do this. So this is the reason we actually captured this main window handle at the beginning, right? So just to confirm, we are in the main window, we are printing its title, right? So this is what we did. So let's run this. Now if you see, it actually opens a new window. It navigates and it opens a new window. And also if you see, it is loading, it is taking some time. And it closes the new window, right? Now we are in the main window. Yeah. So yeah, this is main window handle ID. And if you see, window title is W3 school. So it actually, so it has all window handles will have window. In our case, it will have two windows, right? So it actually switched to this window, first main window. So this is the reason it is saying window title as this, but it will not match with this, right? So it failed. So it went back to the for loop again, and it actually tried to switch to next window. That is second window, new window, right? So the window title of it is this one. So that is what it displays here. And then it will try to match with it. Yes, that is true. So it enters into the if condition and it closes the browser. And after closing, what it has to do, it has to print this. It printed, it displayed that closed window with title, right? And after that, we had break, meaning come out of that loop. This is what I wanted to achieve, right? So break, and then it comes out of the loop, switches the context to the main window. So, and you can, how do you know that? So if you see main window title is displayed again back. So you are in the main window back, right? So this is how you need to use the switch2 method to switch the driver context to a particular browser, and also to close the particular browser, right? So this here we have written a logic to particularly close a specific browser, right? Specific browser if you wanted to close. So this is how you need to write the logic. Say for example, if I had like multiple windows and I wanted to close all of them, then how do you write the logic? So in that case, you will not write this break, right? So in that case, you will write or logic here, and you will match with your window title with dot equals, or maybe say for example equals only, right? Window title 2, and so on, right? So you can just go on add this condition like this, and you'll not write break here, because if you write the break, once it matches with one of this window, then it will close it and it will break, come out of the loop, right? For loop. But that is not what we wanted, right? We wanted to close some of the windows. Say for example, some 4 or 5 windows are open, and you wanted to close, and you wanted to close particular window, only particular window. Say for example, there are 5 windows open, and you wanted to close only two windows. So in that case, you can mention like this with the R condition, and you will not write break here. So whenever this matches with this one, then it will close that window, and or if it matches with this window title, it will close the window. So it's better you loop it through completely without writing the break, so that the particular window which you wanted to close will be closed, right? So after closing, after this for loop is done, then you can switch back you can switch the context to the main window. Hope it is clear. And say, for example, for smoother exit, right? So you can use driver.quit. So once you are done with performing some operations on the main window, so now say, for example, you actually had some multiple windows open and you closed only some of them using this logic, right? And you are back to your main window. You perform some actions, and now you wanted to open rest of the windows along with the main window. So what we can do, we can use driver.quit method. So in our case, it is only main window, so it will only close the main window. You can even use the close, but if you had multiple windows and you close some of the windows and you wanted to switch back to the main window and you wanted to perform some actions and then you wanted to close all the windows, right? All the open windows for a smoother termination, then you can just use driver.quit. This taking new window is taking a long time to load. Yeah. Once it is done, it will be closed according to the logic which we have written, right? So even though this did not match, right? So it actually did not throw error because we have written an R condition. So once this matches, right? So it will, in our case, only this will match for till the for loop is completed. So only this will match. So because we don't have a title with this string, right? So it will not match. But this is just for your understanding. So you can have multiple R conditions written in order to close multiple windows open, which are open. If you wanted to close them, you can have multiple conditions specified here using this logical OR operator. In that case, you will not specify this break statement. And yeah, that's it. So for a smoother termination, you will use the driver.quit method, which actually closes the remaining all open browser windows, right? So this is how you can actually close the specific browser windows. Yeah, another important interview question. So how do you close a specific browser window using Selenium? So this is how you need to explain. So maybe if you are asked to write the code, you need to write this code, or else you can just explain the logic. So you can just say like I'll loop through the all handles and switch to all handles, get the titles of the windows, and will compare the title with the and will compare the title with the window which I wanted to close. And once it matches, I'll close the browser using driver.close. Should be our response. Is that clear? Any questions? All right. So in this session, we started with understanding this navigational methods. We have seen navigate.to and all the navigate methods, right? Back, how do you go back? How do you come forward? And how do you reload the page? So you can just say reloads the page. So how do you reload the page? All that we have seen. And we have seen one important question, that is difference between, get and navigate.to method, right? What's the difference? This is the difference. Driver.get accepts URL. This is not URL, right? Yeah, URL. It's string format only. And driver.navigate.to methods accept URL in the string format and also in the object format, URL object format, right? So that's the difference we have seen. And we have then seen an examples on window handles. How do you switch to a particular window? So when we use get window handle, we get the window. So we use get window handle methods when we have multiple browser windows open. So how do you get that how do you actually handle when there are multiple browser windows open? So we use the get window handles method, and we use a method called switchTo to switch the context, to switch the driver context to a particular open browser window, right? And then we perform some actions, and we have seen that examples. How do you switch to a particular window? And we have seen example on how to close a particular window, specific window, right? Specific browser window. How do you close that we have seen? So this is all we have seen in this session. So in the next session, we'll learn about waits. Another important topic in Selenium, wait methods. Okay, so in the next session, we'll see about the wait commands in Selenium. So I'm wrapping up this session.